This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today we're going to talk about the self-actualization matrix. I believe, thank you to Mr. Michael Hall, at least through Neuro Semantics he teaches this at least, but whether he came up with it or not, I'm pretty sure he did. But it's a combination, of course, of all of his work, which be from a combination of a lot of developmental psychologists. One of the interesting and fascinating things that I find in relation to the subjective space, the subjective world, our thoughts, feelings, emotions, the more that I read, the more that I learn, the more that I study in technically it's still a soft science, the more complex everything is, and it's interesting how often we want to simplify something and go, well, what's the right way to do X? It's like we are literally humans attempting to understand humans. It's like it's like a dog trying to figure itself out, right? Of why we might respond particular ways, why we think particular ways, why do we think in general? And I remember growing up and hearing a lot of what's the meaning of life, or all these sorts of things that would come up. And it's like, and I remember hearing even people like, well, I wasn't asked to be born. And I never really sort of thought too much of it. And recently I've been thinking about it and going, well, hang on a sec. Why do we have awareness? Why do we have consciousness? Why is it that we even exist in the first place? Between the sperm and the egg, how does that thing have a soul? Like, at what point does it actually have a soul? And when did we develop the ability to have thoughts about our thoughts, and that I have that and I can explain it in words, in sounds from my face, and you understand what I'm saying, but you have your own different unique experience of that. Like, this is really interesting stuff. I mean, I was even talking to a couple of friends this morning around the fact that, and I think I mentioned this recently, but we don't have a relationship with our spouse or whoever. We often have, an image in our mind that we call them. It's not them, and that's why we are a different person to literally every single person that we meet. It's really quite fascinating. I find it phenomenal and intriguing, and there is always things to uncover and discover within ourselves, let alone within the world itself, when we are a part of the world, isn't it? I mean, we literally are a cell that exists on this earth. In the same way you have thousands and thousands and thousands and millions of cells within your body, that each one of those things, the healthier overall, the healthier you will be, and the earth is much the same. Anyway, the reason why I'm sort of framing everything like that is because I do want to talk about the self-actualization matrix, which is interesting because it's like, well, in saying all of that, what is the point of life? Why do we even have consciousness? Why do we think? And understanding all of this, it's like then we can see that we heavily do live in a matrix, in a womb, that is, that we go to work and we try and make money to pay bills. Like, none of this is actually real. None of it's essential for existence, so to speak, or happiness. It's like people were happy as well. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Before all of the things, before iPads, before Bluetooth speakers, before cars, like there was people still experience happiness, and it was heavily based on their meanings that they had, right? It's phenomenal, and I suppose the encouragement here is to look at, well, what's the point of giving our life meaning? But then my input is like, and it's not nihilistic, and I've had people go, well, that's nihilism. It's not nihilism. Life doesn't have any meaning besides the meaning that we get to give it. So life is meaningless besides the meaning we give it, that's not nihilism. It's not like, well, what's the fucking point? It's going, you get to create the point. You get to choose. Here's your life, and you get to choose how you want to participate. Now, some of us choose to try and in an attempt to keep pleasing our parents. that can sometimes be the choice. And we're doing that unconsciously because we're still connected to it. We're still seeking those things that we didn't probably receive in freely, or were taught to receive from ourselves in childhood. Like, that's still a choice, even though it feels like it's all unconscious and something's wrong with me, inverted commas, right? But the reality is that we ultimately get to choose what meaning we give our life. Now, that's powerful. That's freedom for me, right? As opposed to going, well, life has no meaning. It's like, oh, that's nihilism. It's like, no. No, it's freedom to choose what you want to do with this one life. And when we look at self-actualization and the matrix, there's two axes. On one axis, the horizontal one, there's performance, right? Neurophysiology, like the doers, so to speak, right? And on the other axis, on the vertical axis, is meaning or semantics. And when we go too far into meaning and we go all the way up, we land in fluff land. That's where the dreamers are. They, and I know if I don't continually put work in and physical work, getting things done and moving forward, so to speak, I can stay in this really philosophical fluff land where it's just dreams and thoughts and ideas, and it's really nice, but nothing actually happens. And it's almost a little bit empty, even though it's full and rich. It's really quite interesting. And so I can go high on meaning. And that's probably a bias of mine, I would say. Now, the extreme of the performance is the performers. And that is the people that go down that path can be compulsive workaholics. Now, the interesting thing is the people that I think I can swing between both if I'm not conscious, if I'm not aware. I can just work my ass off for the sake of working my ass off, yet have meaning behind it, but struggled to put those two things together. And so when we can put those two things together, when we can not just like work for the sake of working, when we can work for meaning that's important to us and understand it on a deeper level, when we're not just dreaming, when we're not just really developing meaning and why, but we can combine our why with our work, with our structured, diligent offering to this world, we can start to really self-actualize. And what that means is that we're going to actualize ourselves for what's important to us. And that's a process once again. You don't just go, I'm self-actualized. Like, that's not quite how it's meant to unfold. I think the key thing there is that it's unfolding. It's choosing to put your energy and your behaviors and your traits and everything that's important to you into the one thing. Now, when I say into the one thing, I'm saying into your life, and using your life as something valuable and purposeful towards something that's valuable and purposeful to you. And when we get to choose, when we have made a decision to choose our meaning for our life, and we work towards that meaning, and that can mean, when I say work, that could be anything. That could be choosing to go off grid and live in the woods. It could be choosing to write a book, write multiple books, write fantasy, write for kids' books. It could be choosing to give your life to dance because there's meaning behind it, right? And when we can look past just the dollar figures, when we can look past what we think or what we're told we're meant to do, and we choose to actually live our life, that's where true power is. That's where true freedom comes. And that's when we end up self-actualizing. And on that note, team, I am done. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you found this podcast beneficial, it would mean the world to me if you'd pass it on to someone else that you think would also find it beneficial. And if you haven't already, make sure you join Beyond the Matrix on Facebook. It's a free Facebook group. I jump in there for Q&A every single Monday night. I'd love to see you in there. It's a recap of the podcast as well. Otherwise, make sure you check out my seminars and courses for 2020. They're all online at davenixon.com.au, and you can even grab a copy of my book, Minding Yourself. At the moment, the book depository, they're already sending them out. They're not even out yet, and the book depository is sending them out. So if you want to jump on the bookdepository.com and buy Minding Yourself by Dave Nixon, if you grab it, make sure you screenshot it and tag me in it. I'd love to say thank you personally. And if you meet me, make sure you bring it so I can sign it for you as well. But team, that's me done. I'm out. Until tomorrow, peace and pizza, kick today in the dick, and slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.